Hi, my name is Marissa Torres, and today I'll be talking about mass incarcerations and the effects that has on the United States. Displayed above is a graph showing the prison system growth between 1950 and 2016 within the United States. Clearly, these numbers have risen throughout the past few decades. According to an ACLU.org journal, since 1970, our incarcerated population has increased by over 700%. Ultimately leading the cost of our taxpayers to over $80 billion per year. Clearly, there's something going on here, and this money can be used towards a growing or more constructive reason to build our economy and our nation as a whole. Displayed above are two pie charts, also showing what the United States contributes to the world globally in population. Ultimately, the United States only carries 5% of the world's population in total people. However, to the right of it is a pie chart that shows that the U.S. contributes 25% of the world's prisoners incarcerated today. Clearly, this is a staggering number considering that the U.S. doesn't provide a huge population to the whole entire globe, but yet leads the globe in people incarcerated by 1/4. The next question we come to is, why do we have so many people incarcerated and behind bars? Upon research, there is clearly a racial bias when convicting felons. According to an ACLU journal, 1 of every 3 black boys born today can expect to go to prison in his lifetime. This also applies to Latino boys, where 1 of every 6 can expect to go to prison in his lifetime, compared to 1 of every 17 white boys. Black people are also subject to pretrial detention at a much higher rate than white arrestees of similar charges and similar history. The U.S. law clearly informs people that everyone is subject to a fair trial and innocent until proven guilty. As we can see, this isn't taking place when looked at people of color as opposed to someone of a Caucasian ethnicity. Although it is required by law that everyone is subject to a fair trial, clearly this is not what is happening. Throughout history, times have changed and also have laws. Within the past few years, multiple states have legalized the use and selling of marijuana cannabis. However, the laws have changed, but the release upon people who have been convicted of felonies and crimes of possession or sales of marijuana have not been released. This is a problem considering that people are behind bars for something that is now considered legal. According to a marijuana lawyer blog, 12.4% are in federal prison because they are violated marijuana laws. I believe that once this law has changed, so have the sentences of these convicted felons due to their actions now being considered legal. Another issue within the United States is the imprisonment of nonviolent criminals who clearly don't pose a threat to society. In 2016, the Brennan Center examined convictions and sentences for the 1.46 million people behind bars nationally and found that a fully 39%, or 576,000, were in prison without any public safety reason and could have been punished within a less costly and damaging way, such as community service or paying restitution. Mike.com also stated that the vast majority of those arrested with a drug offense are not charged with serious offenses. For example, in 2005, 4 out of 5 drug arrests were for possession instead of sales. Although these criminals don't pose a threat to society, it shows that there's so many people that can be out in society contributing to our economy instead of behind bars where they are clearly unable to be used for our economy. I would say another huge proportionate issue within our law system is public defenders and their unneeding will to give their clients the best form of defense. Chad Bank Law shows that Hoffman concluded that you are not only more likely to go to jail if you have a public defender, but you are also more likely to serve a longer sentence. Is this due to the crime, or is it due to the public defender not putting up a fair trial? A lot of these times, 80% of defenders cannot afford a lawyer. Tens of thousands of people go to jail every year without ever speaking to their lawyer or even going to trial. Mike.com also states that there's an estimate of between 2% and 5% of people who plead guilty, leading to tens of thousands of people who are innocent but behind bars today. The effects of this only show that the taxpayers are paying for criminals who had to plead guilty to a crime that they did not commit only because they weren't given the proper form of counsel. Another huge issue within the United States mass incarceration issue is being set up for failure upon the release of these long-term criminals. Obviously, people who have committed such major crimes and have been in prison for almost decades have a hard time reintegrating into society after they've been taken out for so long. The U.S. Department of Justice statistics show that 60% of those inmates will reoffend and return to prison after they are released. Now, a University of Missouri researcher has found that educating inmates and preparing them to find jobs upon their release from prison greatly reduces their reoffensive rate, showing that if we were to implement more programs within the prison that will help them reintegrate into society upon release, they are less likely to be put back in prison. Above is shown are some statistics of returning criminals and how to reduce the chances of them returning to prison. About 61% of felons released from prison in California between 2008 and 2009 returned to state prison within 3 years. However, the participating in any type of educational program, such as the GED program, have reduced the chances of re-entering prison by about 43%. In addition, participating in college programs that allow the prisoners to find better jobs upon release have decreased the chances of them re-entering prison by about 51%. By implementing these programs, we can set up a better chance of these criminals being released back into society and finding a good job to where they don't have to re-enter back into the judicial system. Mike.com also accounted that parole violators for more than 35% of all prison admissions in 2012, those of only 1/3 were returned for new convictions. The rest were returned for a technical violation, such as missing a meeting with their parole officer. 2/3 of these returners of prison can be given slightly less harsh convictions for something as simple as missing a meeting. I truly believe that the cause of mass incarceration starts with the foster care system. Because so many people are unnecessarily behind bars, it directly causes the splitting of families, putting children in foster homes when they are ultimately not needing to be. The rise of women being incarcerated has increased tremendously within the past decade, ultimately leading these children of these women to be sent directly to foster care into the system. JLC.org states that the problem is so severe that 1/4 of foster care alumni will become involved with the criminal justice system within 2 years of leaving care. However, these numbers can be greatly reduced if they weren't taken away from their families who are unjustly or unnecessarily behind bars. Although this issue is not being fixed, it clearly shows that people who are unjustly behind bars and unnecessarily incarcerated is just a reoccurring cycle of their children growing up through foster care and having a greater chance of being more involved within the criminal justice system, just as their parents were. In conclusion, there are plenty of ways that we can fix this system, and instead of looking at numbers in a mass majority, we should be looking at numbers individually to help these people who are nonviolent offenders and being put behind bars due to technicalities when it shouldn't be happening. It is just ultimately leading to a reoccurring cycle. Displayed are the sources that I have used for this presentation. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope that this video shows that there is a major problem within the United States of mass incarceration, but this problem can clearly be fixed with minor adjustments.